Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. In this tutorial we are going to be making a beach ombre with waves. To jump right in, we are going to start with a 32 plump from the Steel Magnolia. I have my all over makeup brush here. I got this one from the Dollar Tree, and we are going to use that to apply very thin layers of the COLORFLEX paints. It has been really windy here in North Carolina lately, or rainy, one or the other. So rather than fighting the weather outside, I have one of every color of this collection, which is 26 or 27 colors, I believe. And it has been so nice to be able to paint my tumblers. These are 3-in-1, so it is a paint, primer, and an adhesive, all in the same bottle. And you can put that directly onto your prepped stainless tumblers. You have saw me use them in my prior tutorials. If it is just a single color or a 2-color ombre, it's a lot easier to do a thicker coat. These are super pigmented, so most of the time I only need 1 cone of paint, but since we are blending our colors, it's a lot better to go thin. Build your colors up just as if you were putting glitter on the cup, and then go over with your second coat. And as you can see, I am starting right at the base of the previous color, working my way down and then back up into that prior color to get that really nice blend. And the only time that I have went and washed my brush is the very last color, which is Nude. And I just did that because it would have turned out sort of like a baby blue color if I didn't wash my brush. So once I finished the blue, I just went and washed my brush off really quickly, dried off any of the excess water that I could, and then add the nude color on the bottom. Once I finished my first coat, I sat it to the side and allowed it to dry completely, and then went back in with another really thin second coat. I'll admit I did rush a little bit, and it is definitely not my best ombre or coverage, but good thing we got the PDB glitter to give us excellent coverage and cover up my terrible paint job. Once my second layer has dried, I went in with 1 to 2 milliliters of Artistry's 1-to-1 ratio fast set. When you're doing a multicolor ombre or using multiple glitters on your cup, it's going to take you a little bit longer to add that glitter on. So you're going to want to use the epoxy method so that you have a longer work time. Once I had pulled my epoxy all around my cup, I just took my gloved hand and dabbed it around to help give a little bit of texture to that epoxy, which helps remove any streaks or lines that may have been there from the application. And then we moved straight into adding our glitter. So I went heavy around the rim, and then I'm doing a light dusting, and you go about halfway into that second color, or the color underneath the one that you're working on. That was Callisto from PDB Creative Studio. This is Valley Girl. And I'm sorry the focus is like completely out of whack on this. I kept putting the glitter shaker right in front of the camera and I didn't realize it. I will tell you, it is so much easier to put your cup on a single cup turner if you have one, rather than holding it during this process. These cups get super heavy and it's hard to constantly spin them around. If you've saw any of my other tutorials, you know that sometimes I make things difficult for myself. So anyway, when I start my next color, I do the same thing. I go up into the prior color and down into the following color. And all you're doing here is giving your glitter a really good base. This is the most important layer because you really want to blend your colors into each other, and then you can go in a little heavier on that second coat. This gorgeous purple that we are using is Drama Llama. It is one of my favorite purples from PDB Creative Studio. I can't even explain the dimension that this glitter has. It is just beautiful. And then we're using Pavo, and the gold that we are using is a holographic mix, and that would be Perseus, I think, at least. I think that's how you say it. Once I finished my first layer of glitter, I went in just a little bit heavier with a second coat, and a lot of times I will do 2 to 3 total coats of glitter just to make sure that I have that really good coverage. But in this case it only took 2, and I had really nice ombre and really good coverage. So I'll just go ahead and let this play through for y'all. Once I had finished my glitter, I allowed this to dry for 4 hours. And again, I'm using Artistry's 1-to-1 ratio fast set. That can vary depending on the epoxy that you use. This sat for 4 hours. I did 2 coats of Rust-Oleum matte clear coat so I can seal in that glitter. I applied a layer of epoxy, allowed that to sit overnight, and then I lightly sanded so I can have a smoother surface for our waves. For this step, I am using a regular epoxy from Artistry. I want a longer work time since we are adding waves, and we're going to apply quite a bit of heat to them, so I also don't want my epoxy to set up too quickly. I did recently post a tutorial for a resin board, and I used this really awesome wave kit to get my waves on that board, and I want to try using it on a tumbler as well. So it is 1 to 2 pumps per half ounce of epoxy. So I put 2 small pumps into half an ounce of epoxy. And before I applied that, I went ahead and torched over my cup just to pop any micro bubbles that might be there. And then applied little streaks just throughout the bottom, spacing them out about 1 inch apiece. And then I took my heat gun and blew the streaks out from the center and then up towards the top portion of my tumbler. If you have a nozzle that will fit your heat gun, that will really help pinpoint where you put the heat, that would be really awesome to be able to use for this. Mine has a little bit of a wider tip on it, and this heat gun gets super hot. So in the end, I actually did end up applying just a little bit too much heat. I need to get a smaller handheld that does not get as hot as this one does, since the heat is not adjustable, but it's okay, we made it work. So I realized that with applying all of that heat, my waves sort of spread out a little bit too much, and it heated up my epoxy to the point to where they were starting to run together. So if this happens, just take your gloved hand and go through, push through the center of your streaks, and then you can pull that in other areas around your tumbler, or just remove the excess completely. Once I had the waves where I wanted them, I took a piece of paper to protect the cup beside of this one so the sea spray would not get on it, and just spritzed 2 or 3 little sprays on here to give those waves some really awesome texture. Now, since I applied way too much heat, when I spritzed on the alcohol, it did cause all kinds of little bumps and divots in my tumbler, but that was 100% my fault. I just allowed it to dry completely and then went over really well with some sanding to knock some of those grooves down. I found the flattest spot on the tumbler, and that is where we're going to apply our decal. This really cute image is from Creative Fabrica, and I will link that down below for y'all. I will tell you it has some super tiny little dots and lines in through the lettering that I thought would be really cute, but it ended up being more trouble than it's worth. So if you use this certain image, when you import it into your program, do a teeny tiny offset, like 0.005. And then flatten the image so that you can fill in all of those little dots and lines, and you won't have the same trouble I had with picking out all of those teeny little things that my machine hardly even cut correctly. Because of all the detail, I did cut it in half so that I can easily apply down to the offset. The offset was 0.025. The holographic vinyl that I'm using is from TeckWrapcraft. They have really incredible vinyl. I will link their shop down below with a discount code for y'all, but all of their backing on their vinyl is super thin and it's slick, so it's really easy to weed, and it comes right off with your transfer tape. I used this little weeding pen that I got from Artistry to pick out all of those little teeny tiny dots that I told you about earlier out of the decal, and then applied 2 coats of Artistry's 1:1 ratio fast set. I feel like the obsession with this epoxy will never end. It dries to the touch in about an hour, and within the same day I'm able to handle the cup and take my photographs and videos for my tutorials, which is so helpful. So if you haven't tried it out before, I strongly encourage you to. It is a complete game changer, y'all. I hope that you have all enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments below. As always, all of the products that I used in this tutorial will be listed in the description, along with some coupon codes to save you some money. We are on Instagram, and we have our own Facebook group where I post lots of reels with additional tips, tricks, and mini tutorials. We also have some fun and giveaways in there time to time. So don't forget to follow and join the group, like and subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell in the corner to be notified anytime a new tutorial drops. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you next time.